The Shenzhou 14 crew starts a 6-month mission to complete the construction of a permanent space station. 515 more COVID-19 cases in the city, with several bar clusters still expanding. Good evening and welcome. China launched its crewed spacecraft Shenzhou 14 on a 6-month mission this morning, aiming to help assemble and complete the construction of the Tiangong space station. The space station is expected to have a lifespan of at least a decade. Christy Khan reports.
About 7 hours after its launch, Shenzhou 14 spacecraft docked with the Tiangong space station at around 5:30 p.m.
2、1，点火。
The Shenzhou 14 spaceship, atop a Long March 2F carrier rocket, was officially launched at 10:44 this morning from the Zhujiang Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert. The manned spaceship detached from the rocket in just over 9 minutes after liftoff and entered its predetermined orbit. The 3 astronauts aboard the spaceships are Mission Commander Chen Dong, Liu Yang, and Chai Shiche. This is the third crewed mission for the construction of the space station. They will assemble 2 additional lab modules, Wentian and Mengtian, to the core module Tianhe. The 3 astronauts will stay in space for 6 months before returning to Earth in December. The upcoming crew members of the Shenzhou 15 will join the trio already aboard the Tiangong space station, bringing the number of astronauts in the station to a record 6. The 2 crews will also have the first ever crew handover in space. Christy Khan, TVB News.
The city reported 515 new COVID-19 infections, with 42 of them imported. Several bar clusters continue to expand, and authorities have appealed to the public to stay on guard. Another 13 infections have been linked to the cluster at the LINQ bar in Central, bringing the number of cases there to 78. 27 more cases related to the club shuffle have been recorded, totaling 69 infections. 3 more customers who visited the Iron Ferries have been infected, bringing the total number of cases in the cluster to 56. Authorities added the outbreak from the bar Central is most likely coming to an end, with 1 more customer and an apprentice confirmed with COVID. So far, 37 infections have been linked to the cluster.
For those people involved in the club clusters, they're mainly quite young. So most of them have mild symptoms. For the Central and the Iron Ferries, the whole genome sequencing has come back, and this BA.2.2 is associated with the local circulating strain. So we have not observed any serious illness.
The latest case with an unknown source of infection is a 38-year-old woman who came down with the BA.2.12.1 mutant strain. She lives on Shenglok Street in Kowloon City, and authorities are not ruling out silent transmissions in the area. 3 doctors in the North District Hospital's intensive care unit tested positive using rapid antigen tests and last worked on Thursday. The trio previously had meals with 3 other colleagues, and they have not developed any symptoms for now. Meanwhile, the government have reminded the public not to overlook the risk of a rebound in COVID-19 cases following the gradual resumption of social activities. Authorities say up until last Friday, they have found 6 people suspected of deliberately providing false information in order to get a recovery QR code. 3 of them have been arrested. The mainland reported 88 new local COVID infections. 55 of them were asymptomatic cases. Liaoning province reported 25 new cases, all of them asymptomatic. Shanghai recorded 22 new infections, including 16 asymptomatic cases. The situation in Beijing is improving, with the capital city reporting 19 new cases, 3 of which are asymptomatic. Beijing will relax curbs on indoor dining, courier services, and in-person classes as the epidemic stabilizes. The new rules will take effect on Monday in all districts of the capital, except Fengtai district and some areas of Changping district. At least 10 people have been killed and 22 injured in a chemical explosion at an electronics factory in northern India. The The accident happened after a boiler burst at an industrial facility in Uttar Pradesh's Hapur district, some 60 kilometers from New Delhi. The ensuing fire burned down most of the facility after the roof was blown off by the blast. The company involved was registered to manufacture electronic equipment, but what chemicals were being used is now being investigated. Industrial accidents are common in India, where safety norms are often flouted. In southeastern Bangladesh, a massive fire near a port city has left at least 38 people dead and over 100 others injured. The fire at the container depot, a Dutch-Bangladesh joint venture, broke out around midnight last night. Firefighters were still trying to contain the blaze this afternoon. Officials say at least 5 firefighters are among the dead, while another 15 of them are being treated for burns. Explosives experts from the military forces have been called in to assist in the operation. The explosions shattered the windows of nearby buildings and were felt as far as 4 kilometers away. The cause of the fire could not be immediately determined. Bangladesh has a history of industrial disasters, including factories catching fire with workers trapped inside. Monitoring groups have blamed corruption and lax enforcement of fire safety rules. Foreign Minister Wang Yi held bilateral talks and signed deals with East Timor's newly elected President José Ramos Horta yesterday. That came as Wang concluded his 10-day tour of 8 Pacific Island nations. China and East Timor signed agreements on fisheries, water and sanitation. China also agreed to support the development of East Timor's healthcare system, such as building hospitals and sending medical teams there. On May 30th, Beijing was unable to gain consensus from 10 Pacific Island nations for an ambitious regional pact on security and trade. This as several nations said it was too rushed and they wanted to consult the broader region. Still, Wang has notched up smaller wins by signing up bilateral deals with many of the countries he visited. Still head on tonight's news. The government urged to reclassify a building on Nathan Road as a Grade 1 historic building. Another body has been found under the wreck of a train that derailed in southern Germany on Friday, increasing the fatalities to 5 with 44 others injured. On Saturday, after several attempts, cranes succeeded in lifting one of the crushed carriages off the site. The regional train was heading for Munich when it came off the tracks. The cause of the accident is still unknown, but 3 of the double-deck carriages overturned. Some 140 people were on board the train, including students heading home from school. 4 of the dead are female. The 5th body found yesterday was male. The rescue is complicated in that it's believed there may be further bodies trapped in the carriages. Back locally, the Hong Kong Observatory expects heavy showers and squally thunderstorms from Tuesday onwards. The weather forecaster called on people to pay attention to the weather before going to school or work next week.
According to the latest model forecast, a broad rain band will affect the coast of Guangdong, bringing occasional heavy showers from Tuesday to Friday. The development of heavy rain associated with the trough of low pressure could be rather random. There will be uncertainty in the occurrence time and location of the heavy rain.
Chief Executive Designate John Lee is still forming his governing team before he takes office on July 1st. Political analyst Lau Siu Kai says the new team may have a higher proportion of former disciplined services officers than the current administration. Caleb Leung has details.
Less than a month to go before John Lee, himself a former Deputy Commissioner of Police, takes office as the SAR's Chief Executive. Sources say the current director of the Chief Executive's office, Eric Chen, could become Chief Secretary for Administration. Chen is formerly the Director of Immigration, also from the city's disciplined services. Veteran political analyst Lau Siu Kai said, given the increasingly turbulent international situation and possible hostility from the West, former disciplined services officers may be the kind of leader that Hong Kong needs over the next decade.
Beijing would like to see people who are courageous, who are loyal to the country and to Beijing, and who are brave to take on different challenges to become Hong Kong's leaders. Given the fact that discipline services were able to show themselves to Beijing that they were up to the task. And that may be the reason why Beijing would prefer to have people from the discipline services to take charge of Hong Kong government.
Lau thinks John Lee will have minor difficulty in forming his governing team. Lau believes more people are now willing to join the government, given that there are less political costs involved than before.
Some people might be concerned about possible sanctions from the West, particularly from the United States. So some people might be a bit reluctant to join the government, but still I would expect, compared with the past, more people will be willing to join the government than before.
Lau also said it is imperative for John Lee to show his determination and ability to achieve good governance within the first several months in office. Otherwise, public confidence in him and public expectations of the government will decline rapidly, which means Lee will not have a honeymoon period when he takes up his new post. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Online banking services provided by HSBC and Hang Seng Bank were suspended for a few hours earlier today. Account holders were unable to access the services or apps at around 10 a.m. When they tried to use them, a message stating the service is temporarily unavailable appeared. Online banking services gradually returned to normal at about 1:30 p.m. According to the bank's website, the services had been undergoing updates and maintenance in the early hours of the morning. Francis Fong, the honorary president of the Hong Kong Information Technology Federation, suspected the technical glitches might have been caused by the latest system upgrades. Services on the MTR Tsuen Wan line and Kwun Tong line were disrupted this afternoon after a fire broke out at Mong Kok Station. The fire started on the upper platform in the station at around 3 p.m., causing trains traveling to Tu King Leng and Tsuen Wan to skip the station. Services returned to normal at around 15 minutes later after the fire was put out. Nobody was injured in the incident. A group is urging the government to reassess a structure and reclassify it as a Grade 1 historic building. The building on 190 Nathan Road is located at the intersection of Austin Road and Nathan Road. It has long balustrade verandas with rounded ends at each level. Built between 1932 and 1937, this pre-wartime structure was previously classified as a Grade 3 historic building. Last year, an application to demolish the building was approved, but a group, Walk in Hong Kong, which consists of conservation architects and World War II academics, found that the house had been used by the Japanese army as a place for officials to eat their meals. They say the two sons of the building's owner at the time observed Japanese ships on the roof to provide the British Army intelligence. The group said the building is very rare and is now the city's only structure with linkage to intelligence during the Second World War. They also urged the government to assess its historical value. And that's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.